welcome on board to the first edition of the new norm, and it's a pleasure to have you here this afternoon. Would love to give you this particular time to welcome you in, join us on board as we begin the webinar. And we, on our end, have also prepared in advance. I can see all the panelists already on board. So in the next 5 minutes, I'm just going to go over what the webinar is all about and also give you time in terms of also to join in. I know most of the people are joining in from various locations, and we would love to perhaps ensure that we start with all of us on board. This afternoon, this webinar has been brought to you by ABMC International. And the main emphasis of this webinar is on a series that will be running for the next, I think, 3 webinars. Actually, it's 3 webinars we've confirmed. The new norm, the new marketplace, and the church leadership. So those are the 3 webinars that will be running in consequently, but this is the first series which you're focusing on the new place. ABMC International is based in Nairobi, Kenya. We are a training service provider. We have offices in Kampala and Dar es Salaam and operate across Africa in terms of offering training facilities and consultancy in terms of programs that we have across within our portfolio. This afternoon, I would not want to start without mentioning our partners who have made this possible. With me this particular afternoon, I'm Joseph Mugo. I'm the CEO of ABMC International, and this webinar has been brought to you in collaboration with John Okobi Foundation in Nigeria, and we have other partners who are also joining in us and also participating in terms of partnership. Gateway and Partners are also our partners. Legacy Africa Group is also one of our partners for this webinar. Right. Innovative Point is also one of our partners. We also have Vumilia Africa Group from South Africa, also partnering with us. Richmele International also joining us as our partner from Kenya. So wonderful opportunity and great insights that we'll be sharing within the next few days. And with this particular webinar, our focus is the new workplace. I'm sure you've already received that notification to join us on board, and also you've gotten the opportunity to join us this particular afternoon. Ensure you have stable internet, and also ensure that your microphones are muted. And this will lead me to the next webinar after this one, which will be the new normal after the new workplace, which we have also various participants and panelists who have already been confirmed, as you can see on the screen. And this will be on the 1st of May from 2 p.m. That is this week on Friday. And that is 2 p.m. Lagos time. East African time is 4 p.m. South African time is 3 p.m. depending on where you're joining in on board. The next series will be the church leadership in crisis time, quite influential. And this will be done on the 5th of May. This will be happening at 4 p.m. London time. And this will also be shared immediately after this particular webinar so that you can easily be able to follow up in terms of registration. And all of you who have already registered will definitely share a link in terms of how you're able to join for this particular webinars, and also give you reminders so that you don't miss out on them. And if you in case miss out on them, we'll definitely also share with you the recordings for each and every of these webinars so I can be able to benefit and go through in case you didn't have time to join us this particular afternoon. So cues in terms of how we'll manage this webinar. Our mics have already been muted, and we've ensured your screens have also been muted. This is a webinar Zoom platform, so it allows only the panelists to come in on board, as you can be able to see them on the side, and also we'll only bring them once they are presenting into the presentations. So there's a chat tab in front of you in the middle. Please make use of it. Ask as many questions as possible. We want to make sure this is an interactive webinar. You are able to ask questions that you're currently having a challenge on, and you're able to get answers. And if someone is not able to come on board and perhaps present the question and answer the question, definitely someone within the panelists will answer the question within the Q&A. And also on the side, we'll also have the chat tab for chatting with all the members and the panelists who are here. Also take time to check who is already connected. Join join one to the other. We've all been locked down. We've not been able to chat and meet each other. So this can be another way of meeting your colleagues and peers from wherever they are. So over to the webinar, the new workplace. We've come up with the program, which is going to be aligned, as you can see on the screen. Our first presenter will be Robinson from South Africa. He will be discussing the challenge and the new realities facing employers in pandemic/crisis. And then we'll have Dr. Dixon discussing the changes and the new reality facing employees in pandemic. Then we'll have Sarah Richson joining us on managing the opportunities and challenges of the new workplace emerging from the pandemic. And then we'll have Peter joining us on planning and preparing for pandemic recovery and the future of workplace. And then thereafter, we'll have the Q&A. So Robinson Shumba is a professional speaker, facilitator, a TEDx speaker, best-selling author, and he's joining us this afternoon to give us insights on various aspects. He's a master trainer, a seasoned strategist with over 24 years of experience, and in helping multinational corporations succeed in business. Robinson is an author of a number of transformational books, executive coach, as well as social entrepreneur. He's well-traveled and having done consultancy and training, he's joining us this afternoon, and is the CEO of Vumilia Group from South Africa, Johannesburg. It's good to have you, Robinson, here with us this afternoon. And Robinson will be discussing the changes and the new realities facing employers in pandemic/crisis period. So let me give Robinson this opportunity to join us. I'll stop my screen share as I share the polls in terms of how we reflected. Robinson, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much.
Fabulous, fabulous. Yes, you can get going. On me is the representation. Majority of us are joining us from Africa, 91%, 6% from UK, 4% from US. The percentage, a larger percentage is from East Africa, 47%, West Africa, 32%, Central Africa, 4%, South Africa, 4%. Excellent. We also have US and UK joining us on board. Thank you so much for sharing those insights. I'm sure they're going to be of much importance to the panelists as they share the results and the presentation this afternoon. Without much ado, let me pass the baton to Robinson. Robinson, over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, and good afternoon to everybody. I'm going to speak for the next 12.5 minutes concerning a subject that is very close to my heart, where I explore changes and the new realities facing employers in the pandemic and crisis period that we are in. None of us need to be told what the crisis is all about, but let me do a state of the world address in 1 minute. The world has been turned upside down, the business world, the personal world. The coming of the pandemic has literally changed the way we interact, the way we greet, the way we transact, the way we do every single thing. In fact, as a matter of fact, there's now a cough etiquette. There's a way of coughing that you have to cough. So there's a lot of change that has come. As they say, change is the only constant, and with change comes challenges. With the changes that are upon us are so many challenges that businesses have to face. But again, there are also great opportunities that come. A colleague of mine will share on opportunities. I'll touch a little bit on that. I'll talk about the new workplace. These changes that have come have defined a new way of working. Right now, as we meet in this particular room, we actually are in a conference. We have a conference, but we are in different locations, and this is the way the workplace is going to be. Ladies and gentlemen, this gives a rise to what we have called this afternoon the new normal. But I would like to ask you a question to interrogate. I want you to be able to introspect and interrogate yourself a little bit in terms of where you are in terms of this transition. There are two types of people, those that are in the comfort zone and those that are in the learning zone. Whether you're a professional, whether you are a business person, you are in one of these zones. 80% of us live in the comfort zone. In fact, the majority of us, where we were just getting by. We were just playing it safe. We are in a zone of fear, and some of us are still fearful right now. This is where we used to be, but we can't stay there. The world has changed. We need to get into the new normal, which is the topic for this afternoon. Where we need to be is to have a life without limits. Let there be no boundaries. As we explore the new normal, let's take courage. Let's make decisions. Leadership is about making decisions every single day. You may not make 100% good decisions every single day, but at the end of the day, reward yourself and say, at least I made a decision. We need to explore new realities. We need to look at opportunities that are in front of us and live a life without limits. So I want you to look at that. In 1 minute, again, I want to take you through a journey that we all go through when we see change coming our way. We started off with anxiety. Sometimes we are in denial. This change is not coming. The new normal is not coming. We are filled with a sense of emotion. Some of us are very fearful. But sooner or later, we need to get into a realm of acceptance to say, hey, let's realize opportunities. I can do something about this. Sooner or later, you gather all the energy, you gather all the determination, and you launch yourself into the future. And you have the growth that you have always wanted to see in your organization. But change by its very nature is very difficult. I will not be able to do justice if I say the road ahead of us is very easy. We have to paint the picture correctly. But not changing is more fatal. For individuals, more fatal for organizations as well. We must understand that the survival of our organizations are in relation or in proportion to our readiness and our attitudes towards change. It's very important to realize that. I like what one theorist says, it's not the most intelligent who will survive, but those that can best manage change. We all know about Charles Darwin, a very phenomenal message that he shares right there. I'll look at change in four different pillars. Very quickly, the first pillar is the people pillar. The second pillar that I'll look at is the process pillar. I'll look at the promoters. What are the enablers of this change that we're talking about and promoting? And last but not least, I'll look at change from a performance point of view. Very briefly, what are the people considerations in the new reality, in the new normal? Realize your vision. Without a vision, people perish, but without people, a vision will perish. You must understand that people don't care how much you know, but until they know how much you care. As a leader, a business leader, realize your importance in making sure that people are taken care of. Right now, you need more than ever before to stay in contact with your people. They are anxious. They are depressed, some of them. They are contemplating suicide, a number of them. You must be able to stay very close to them, focus on their welfare, focus on their well-being, communicate with them. Don't close them out and say, I'm focusing on solving the problems. Who are these people? People are always the problem, but people are always the solution. Make sure that you look at that. The other thing that you need to look at in the new normal, for those that had already made decisions to hire people and you already started communicating that, you need to defer the hiring of new people right now, because you need to right size. The new normal is such that you need the right people on the right seat on the bus. There's no need to overload a bus of people who are going to be idle in the new normal, because as you shall see later on, performance is a key element. But in the new normal, it's very critical for you to drive a new culture, performance culture, a culture of trust. People are not working with you. They're not sitting with you across your table. They are in remote locations. A new culture of trust, a culture of performance wherever you are, people taking responsibility. That's what you drive as a leader. We all have to understand our responsibility to say the law of the lead, the law that says we can be the ones that put a lead on the performance of the organization. As they say, the culture of the kingdom emanates from the culture of the king. You are the leader in the business. Every single one of us is a change agent in the organization. We must have people considerations in realizing that, hey, culture is evolving, and in the new normal, what is my role? What is my responsibility? But key amongst the issues of people is the issue of succession planning. Unfortunately, some organizations will lose those that they want to keep and will keep those that they want to lose. Some may lose these to employees to competitors. Others will lose people to the coronavirus. Unfortunately, that may happen. But do you have succession planning in place? Will your business crumble because one element is no longer there? As I said earlier on, it's no longer about degrees. Even if you have degrees bigger than a thermometer, you still need skills in order to operate in the new normal. And somebody will talk later on about the kind of skills you require for you to be able to prosper in the new normal. But let's look at the process considerations. The new normal is such that we can't do business the same way we used to do it. How we work has transformed. How we go about our business has moved. Telecommuting is the order of the day. I've called it the virtual and online everything, VOE. It's a term you will not find anywhere else. Everything is virtual. Virtual learning, virtual shopping, virtual meetings, virtual every single little thing. So the new normal is such that people have to stay connected. There's the need for flexible working hours. People are going to be demanding that. There's a need more than ever before to safeguard your business, but focus on that which you are good at. You are not good at everything. You can't do every single thing. So one consideration in the new normal is that you need to outsource those non-core activities and ensure that you derive and push your energies in the right direction. But more than that, there's need to revamp our corporate policies. Our policies that we have not been there, policies like how do you telecommute? There must be a policy on that. How do you have productivity when you're working in a remote location? There must be a policy around that. There's a revamp our policies around safety and health, etc. Focus on your people, make sure that people are looked after. But more than anything, skills that you require as a leader to manage people in a remote workforce. People are not with you. You need a certain skill to be able to ensure there's team cohesion and people are contributing to the bigger picture. Risk awareness. When you talk process, this pandemic has shown us that we need to be risk aware. This is called the black swan, something that even the risk experts of the world had never planned for. What will happen if there's another black swan coming? We need to be more risk aware. Business continuity, more than before in the new normal, leaders in organizations, we have to be thinking about how can we ensure, how can we safeguard our future, our revenues. Let's look at the promotion angle. First pillar, as I said, is people issues. I looked at the process issues. The second pillar, the third pillar is the promoter considerations. They are all P's, by the way. What will enable the new normal? We need people to be networked. We need people to have access to devices so that every single individual has got an IP address. Whenever you have an IP address, you can have access to your workplace and you can deliver on all your expectations of all your stakeholders. There's need for collaboration, and there are tools and mechanisms we can use for collaboration. Zoom, for example, is a tool that you're going to be seeing more often. You're going to see a lot of Skype calls happening, a lot of Office 365 tools that you can use for collaboration. More than anything before, what will promote the new normal is security. When more and more people are driven out of jobs, they'll think of ways of being fraudulent and jump into the new normal and be able to benefit from it. So we need to ensure that fraud and risk management is a top priority. People need your support. The employees that you have require your utmost care. Health and safety policies, as I said earlier on. Tone at the top. The new normal is determined by you, the employer, you, the business leader. You need to show the fact that you have adapted to change and you're driving that particular change. Let me look at the last pillar, which is the performance pillar. Performance, performance, and performance. Financial indicators. Stakeholders will continue to demand more, even though your resources are getting less and less, even in the midst of the challenges that you have. More than anything, focus on cash flows, focus on cost containment measures for you to be able to realize the goals of your organization. We need to be realistic in our accounting. Some of us are already thinking, what is the effect of Corona and the pandemic on our organization? That's part of the new normal. These financial expectations are going to continue to be there. This pillar is very important. The business model that you have right now, is it working? Is it serving your customers? Is there a need right now to change your strategy altogether? Is there a need right now to bring in foreign investment into your business? A lot of us want to hold on to our businesses. Oh, it's mine. It's a family-owned business. I'd rather hold on to it. As I always say, you'd rather have 10% of an elephant than 100% of a rat. Many of us want to hold on to our vision. Yes, they are so sentimental. Oh, God gave you that particular vision, but also God gives you smart partnering. When you look at your business model and when you look at the fact that your customers' demands are forever changing, and they're throwing you into a realm where they will overstretch your resources, you may need to include other people in your vision. When you bring other people, you bring about innovation and you bring about the growth of your business. Understand the issue of the value chain. You cannot perform in the new normal if you don't focus on your value chain. The value chain, right now, I'm putting two key elements, the supplier and the customer. A lot of us have forgotten who our customer is. In the new normal, do you still have the same customer, or your customer is moved next door? Your competition, by the way, has just changed because every business is online. Remember I said virtual and digital everything, virtual and online everything. So because your competition is not somebody in your village, your competition is not somebody in your city or county, your competition is somebody with an IP address who could be sitting in South Korea, who will be sitting in Japan. I was looking at my own business model around training and consulting. There are consultants that are competing for the same things and they are sitting in India somewhere and wanting to access the very same resources. Get in touch with your suppliers. Your supplier can make or break you. If your supplier closes down today, is your business going to be there in the new normal? Keep tabs of those. Profitability, very critical. You need to have a strong digital presence. The new normal is such that if you don't understand digital, you will not survive. The world has moved, move with it. Some of you have seen this. Those who know accounting terms, it used to be EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. But now the coronavirus has come into the equation. Measure the change objectively, adapt to the new normal in every single way. The world is wearing a mask, but don't hide behind the mask perpetually. Rise every single day and say, I am here to solve problems. I will end with a few quotes. The secret of change is to spend your energy not fighting the old, but building the new. That's Socrates. When the winds of change blow, some people are going to build windmills, others are going to build walls. What are you building in the new normal? Whenever you feel you've hit rock bottom, and some of us are already feeling that right now, we are emotional about our businesses. Am I losing my job? Am I losing this? Whenever you feel you've hit rock bottom, do not cry. Examine the rock. It could be the diamond you've been looking for all this time. This crisis is producing opportunities, and you shall see that in the next presentation. If you're caught between a rock and a hard place, again, difficulties push us to create. Blast the rock and create a quarry business. Bill Clinton says something phenomenal. He says, the price of doing things the same old way is far higher than the price of change, meaning we must be changing all the time. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I believe in every single one of you. I believe that God has given you a vision, a mandate, a purpose. Your role is to pick yourself up right now, re-examine your strategy, re-examine where you've come from, look at where you are right now. Hindsight is very important, but insight is key. Foresight is very crucial because you're taking your business into the future. But more than anything, you have a responsibility, you have an oversight. 4 kinds of sight that I've told you: hindsight, have insight, wisdom to know your business, but have foresight to throw your business into the future, understand your business, but more than anything else, an oversight, responsibility. That's the new normal, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you are ready for it. God bless you.
Powerful, Robinson. Amazing, amazing. I don't even think I would want to open my mouth, otherwise everyone will forget about everything you've said. Powerful insights as you're closing, and I cannot overemphasize each and every point that you've already mentioned. I'll give Robinson the chance to also recap back towards the end, because I want to introduce the next speaker so that we have a lot of time to discuss, have one-to-one with each another. So the next speaker would be Dr. Dixon Ojukwu. Dr. Dixon Ojukwu is a performance coach and learning facilitator. He's passionate about uncovering talents, unleashing potentials, and goals attainment. He's built up a remarkable reputation through consultancy and speaking engagement in emerging markets, especially in Africa and the Middle East. Dr. Dixon is joining us from England this afternoon, and is going to discuss with us what are the changes and the new realities facing employees in pandemic and crisis period. Over to you, Dixon.
Thank you, Joseph, and welcome everybody. It's a pleasure to be with you, and I want to thank my colleague who started already before me. I do appreciate that so much. And I'll start with sharing my screen, and then we can take it from there. Okay. I want to be taking you through the change and the new realities facing employees in the workplace today, especially in this crisis period. And I believe strongly that the COVID-19 has impacted us in more ways than one. A lot of us did not see it coming. We are not prepared for this particular pandemic. A lot of us didn't have any contingency planning past 6 months in readiness for this pandemic we are currently facing. And there's a particular group of stakeholders that are badly hit by this, and they're asking so much questions, and they are the employees. And I know if you're one of them, you are also asking some of these questions. Let's look at them. There's a lot of changes that has taken place. Number one, I believe that you agree with me, that's fear and anxiety currently. In fact, the truth is that some people are asking, is the world coming to an end? With the kind of news we're having and a lot of things that are happening in our media today, am I going to lose my job? Will I contact the virus and even die? How about a lot of conspiracies that are going on in circulation today? Are they right? Are they wrong? So that's first one. And the next thing that we see happening is that we are looking at job loss and income loss. We have a statistic that shows that about 198 million jobs will be wiped out according to United Nations. So that's a lot of number of jobs, and that's globally. And in terms of income, it ranges from 860 billion at the lower end and at the upper end to $3.4 trillion that is going to be lost in income globally. And then the truth is that for the employees, some of the employees' jobs that we're having today, some of them are going to be wiped out by the pandemic, and some other new roles are going to come up. So there's a fear about loss of job and income. And then I think at this point in time, the employees need a lot of support. The employees need support in terms of finances. You know, financially, they need support. Some of them have not been paid salary, and some of them have been on lockdown for about 2 months now. And the issue is that, I don't know, some organizations are not slashing the salaries that are paying employees. And some parts of the world, the government have not provided any benefit or support for the employees. So that's a big challenge for employees. And also, in terms of physical needs, some of the employees will require, things like, how do they come to work? How do they commute to work? Some countries complete lockdown, so transport is a problem. Other places, people are working from home. How do they work from home? That's a challenge. They need that help from the, from the employer, or the employees need that help. And then we're looking at the issue of medical and health. At this point, people are falling in, relations, employees and their loved ones are falling in. In fact, that's something that a particular in East Africa is doing. They are now looking at helping their employees to get virtual medical consulting with hospitals, so they can consult doctors virtually, because evidence has shown that currently hospitals are one of the places that are highly prone to infection. So good employers are discouraging their employees going to the hospital for very little illnesses and challenges. So there's a lot of need in this area. They need a lot of medical and health support. Employees need emotional and psychological support. There's a whole lot is happening. People are afraid, people are anxious, people are staying at home, people are having their loved ones falling sick. Some people have even lost loved ones. People are going through a lot of mental health issues. So there's a need for employees in terms of their emotional and psychological needs. And then also in terms of the organization, there's a great need for learning. How do employees learn now that not in the office? The way employees are learning is going to change. There's a great need for employees to learn, the continuous learning in their job. So that's a big for a lot of organization employees. And then I think another major challenge we are currently having today is the issue of communication. Employees need communication and awareness. Our employees are looking for authentic information. A lot of the information we're having today are either fake news or they're not validated. So employees are stranded. They're looking information. They need to know what are the changes going on in the office. Is there any policy that has changed? Are we still doing business as usual? They need to know what is going on. They also need to have a clear update about what is happening with the pandemic. Today, you listen to one media, they tell you 100,000 have died in this part of the world. You listen to another medium, they say another figure for the same location. So there's a lot of information all flying out in the air, and the employees want to get the right information about the pandemic. Also, there's a need for employees to understand what is our organization doing? What is their plan? How is the business going to continue? Are we folding down? Now that we're locked down, are we coming back? If we come back, how do we come back? A lot of information that is needed at this point in time. So employees are very much in need of constant information, constant communication, constant awareness. And if you move from there, there's also great need for employees learning new skills. We are in a terrain that has brought in a lot of new realities. And that's why we're saying it is the new normal in the workplace. We need to learn new skills. Today, we are coming to you from various parts of the world through the platform of technology. And a lot of employees have not been used to this for a very long time. They have been used to going to work and sitting physically in an office and interacting physically with their colleagues. Today, that is not happening in most countries. So employees are having a need to learn new skills. So we need to learn how to use the Zoom and other telecommuting and conferencing tools in being able to work. So we are looking at there's a need for digital intelligence. You know, people need to learn how to use the digital platform to be able to do their job, even when they are at home. So maybe some of us who may not be very technologically savvy, one of the things that we have now is we also have our young children who are with us. They may be our teacher, they may be our consultant that will help us to get to learn how to use technology to continue our job. We must reinvent ourselves so that we don't become dinosaurs at the current disposition. Okay, and then I want to go back to one of the major areas we are having today as challenge is commuting to work, remote working. People are working from various locations in the world. So we're going to ask, so if you look at, there's a statistics we have that show that collaboration and communication is one of the major challenges. Some people have not worked remotely before. They have not worked before tools like Zoom, Get to Meeting, Google Hangouts, and all the Google team, various tools that we're using to work from home today, remote working too. And they see that the working from home comes with a lot of challenges. You know, some people are having collaboration and communicating because they're not used to communicating this way. How do they communicate with their boss? How do they communicate with their colleagues? It's a challenge. How do they link up with the technology we are using in the office to be able to do their job? And when you look at this research that we have recently, this 20 looking at working from home and the challenges that we are currently facing. And we have this organization that is called BOFA.com. They have done a research that shows us that the highest challenge we have with working at home currently is collaboration and communication, followed by loneliness. People are lonely. They are not used to staying alone in the house and working. They are used to working together with people. Some people are not able to get from work or kind of differentiate their house or home living with the work. So they work from morning and they don't even know when work closes. They work almost all the day. So they cannot unplug from work. There's distractions from home, you know, from children, from husband, from TV, from all kinds of things, from wives. So people need attention. There's a lot of demand that our circle of influence is placing on us. That's also been in different time zones. You may be in one part of Africa and then your colleagues are in America or in the United Kingdom or Europe if you're working for a global organization. So that's a big challenge. Staying motivated. Some people get up in the morning and they don't even want to go to work. You know, so they're used to leaving the house, but now they can't. They just feel like somebody should motivate them to know that it's time for work. So they're motivated to work. There's also people are not even able to know when to take vacation, when to get up, when to say to take a break. And some people, especially in some part of the developing nation of Africa, yes, we have a challenge with the issue of taking vacation. So that's a big deal with a lot of people. So I think in closing, Let me share with you some of the challenges we are currently having with working from home. Okay. If you look at that, that's some of the pictures we have for people working from home today. You know, some people have their children on top of their necks and so on. Some people are walking with a bottle of beer in their hands. Some other people have to give their children something to do so that they can give mom and dad the opportunity to walk. Some other people, oh, there's all kinds of distractions, you know, from left, right, and center. It looks like you should tie all the people down who are distracting you so that you have some time. People have all kinds of notions about what we are doing working from home. Some of them think we are playing. Some of them think we are watching TV and enjoying our life, that we're not really working. But it depends. Some people actually, they are working from home. It's a lot of experience. Either they are sleeping or tired. Nobody is looking at them. In the office, you normally don't sleep. But now people can do all kinds of things. TV is their televisions are distracting them, and some other things are distracting. There's some other ones for them to work. They have to make sure they are carrying their children. It's the reality that we're having today. And there's some other people, like we said, is loneliness. Some other people is managing that distraction. How do we manage that distraction? Because distraction is everywhere. Some people are overworking. They are overworking, just unusual, you know, for them. Some people are struggling to be in the mood to. Some people, the workstation they have, their tables and their chairs are not conducive. They have economics problem. And some people, there's a difficulty balancing work and family. Time management is a challenge. When do you stop work and when do you attend to family? When do you attend to your children? Then tracking your work and productivity is a problem. How do you get your boss to know what you are doing and make sure you are on the track? And the last one I'm going to be sharing with you is the quality of connectivity at home. A lot of countries are struggling with the issue of the internet connection, and that becomes a big problem for working from home. I will my presentation with this quote, which somebody shared with us in one of the conferences recently. I want to believe that whether the weather be good or whether the weather be bad, we will all weather the weather, whatever the weather, whether we like it or not. This is the way to move in this pandemic. Thank you so much.
Amazing, Dixon. Amazing. Yeah, the last one was really insightful. And my key takeaways in this particular presentation from Dr. Dixon is digital intelligence, work-life balance. When you used to be at work, work-life balance used to be like a theory. Now it's in real sense with us. You're at home, balancing working at home and also working for your home as well. The other thing is understanding the challenges that our employees are facing when it comes to working at home. The connectivity, the infrastructure that they have, and that also shapes the perception of when we are doing our performance management, how are we evaluating our performance for employees. Insightful, Dixon, and commendable. Jump into the next speaker, who will be sharing a few slides and insights, and this is none other than Sarah Richson. Sarah Richson, she's the CEO of Richmela International, consulting outfit based in Nairobi, Kenya, operating across the world. She's a double award-winning global speaker, trainer, human development expert, OD consultant, and an executive coach. Sarah has a large professional followership gained from her consultancy work with various organizations and her speaking engagement. She is the leading voice of HR based in East Africa, Kenya, and she will be sharing with us this afternoon the topic of managing the opportunities and challenges of the new workplace. The emerging, the emerging from the pandemic. And with those few, I want to find out if Sarah is there so that I can pass on the mantle to her. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you very much, Joseph. Thank you. And thank you to all the other speakers. My name is Sarah Richson, as you've been told, and I'm very excited to be here today. I'm just trying it. So I just wanted to walk us through managing the challenges and opportunities that we have in this new workplace. And I think a lot has been said around those challenges that people are facing, whether they're managers, whether they're employees. And I think it's very important that right now we start looking at what can we do in terms of being able to then find solutions and manage this. we always say things start with the leader. Fish rots from the top and from the head. So we need to start the outlook of leadership. And this is where everything will start in terms of looking at how do we manage this situation. It's very difficult, and day in, day out in webinars, I'm hearing how people are struggling across Africa, especially in the context of Africa. And so I think for us, going back to our community culture will be something very key. Because as Africans, naturally, we are very community-based. And let us stop looking too much at what the West has done. I mean, even in terms of the virus, we've seen what has been happening when it came to Africa. Everybody was thinking the news and the numbers and everything will be coming from Africa, but it's actually not happening. So what do I recommend for the African leadership in this time and age is to look at shared leadership. And you can go and Google and you'll find a lot of information around shared leadership, which is driven by these kinds of cultures, Africa, Asia, where we live in communities with our families, we have extended families and everything. And this is usually driven by trust. So it's very, very important that we have shared leadership. The second thing is organizations will have to move from the conversation of talent management towards people management. I mean, talent is abstract. You're managing something within Sarah. So maybe Sarah's skill of speaking or Sarah's skill of typing or whatever. But then when it comes to people management, you're now looking at Sarah with her 5 children, with a husband who probably is not at home and lives abroad or has to work across the world. You are looking at Sarah with the who lives maybe with the mom and she has to care for her mom because her dad is not there because of this virus and everything. So holistic leadership becomes a very, very key thing for leadership in this day and age. Cross-generational teams will also become very key because at this point, you'll start realizing that leadership will be about expert power. And we know the power structures around leadership, and there's so many. But one of the key things, the authoritarian leader that used to utilize the power of hierarchy will now have to look downwards or look elsewhere within the organization to fall into the expertise of the employees. And you find the youth and the different generations, the Gen Z, I mean, I have them in the house, setting me up today, making sure my lighting is good and everything, teaching me how to go through all my technology has really been driven by my kids. So this has helped because they are the experts on this particular issue that we are dealing with right now. The other thing is functional leadership and collaboration. Functional leadership and collaboration is going to be very key. You find that different departments who used to fight, if they're in the office and wherever they are fighting, right now they have to come together because we are all facing the same enemy. Same with countries, same with organizations. I mean, you've had, for those of you who are here from the beginning, how many organizations have made this happen today? Joseph had to pull together his power of collaboration to get us all together to be able to say, let us gift our community with this webinar. The other thing that we need to really look at is to pay attention to the fog. Right now, the world is really foggy. So many things need to be figured out. And if anybody is walking out there and saying, I know how to deal with this and I know how to deal with that, let me tell you, this thing is changing every day. And what I say, especially when like I'm coaching a client and I'm saying there's fog, you know, the way you have fog in your brain, fog in your eye about something, whether it's your organization, whether it's your life, whatever it is that you're trying to do. Sometimes it is better to stop. Everybody could be running. Maybe I'm checking out, Dixon is running so fast, oh, he's doing this, he's doing that, so I need to go out and do this and do that as my organization. But maybe it's too foggy for you to continue driving. Would you advise a driver in deep fog to continue driving and die? I'd rather you stop, be seen as if you're stalling, wait a little by the roadside, let the fog clear. You might just see better in 3 weeks or 4 weeks' time. So pay attention to your fog. The other way of managing people will be very keen in terms of, there's a framework I always use called the SKEENM framework, SKEENM. And I use this a lot, whether it's mentorship, managing people, people development, helping organizations and things like that. S stands for, we will start looking at skills. Skills become very key. Right now, I mean, even operating this technology, you need a skill. Knowledge, what do you know? You know, education, technical competence and things like that. Then the first E is for experience. What experiences do you have? Don't think that, and I'll share with you some of the case studies of how people are really being able to re-evolve themselves and reinvent themselves in this space based on their experience. Exposure. What have you been exposed to? Right now, we are exposed for me doing these webinars, I love them because I'm exposed to a lot of content from fellow speakers and from people and from questions that come from the participants. And then N, who is within your network? Network becomes very, very key in helping you actually find answers to these things. So as an organization as well, start thinking about that. And finally, who are you working with in terms of the people who are mentoring you, people who can help you hold you down? I mean, sometimes you don't need a psychiatrist or whatever when you're going through this stuff. I don't know if psychiatrists are the ones who are solving people's problems today, how many psychiatric hospitals would be full. So we need a lot of leaders to step up today, colleagues to step up today and mentor others and walk them through some of these issues that they're going through, especially the emotional aspects. So managing people at the very basic, your tactics of management by fear, those managers who used to enjoy to instruct, those managers who love managing time, you know, what time did you report, what time did you leave, and people who love managing activities. I remember when I was a HR director, I once wrote to people, and I remember my HR director, country director from Nigeria, wrote back and said, you know, yesterday, madam, I spoke to my husband and I was telling her, I received an email from my director and she said she does not manage activities. I said, I manage outcomes. And that is what you see in the delighters here. When you look at the delighters, emotional intelligence, managing outcomes, and helping people to unlearn and innovate will actually help you to deal with the challenges that we are facing in this day and age. So the opportunity for using your emotional intelligence will delight. Your opportunity to really looking at how you become a project manager within the organization also will delight. Things that will satisfy our performance conversations. I know we are really driving for performance, but let me tell you one thing. Many of us are saying we are working from home. I keep saying we are managing a crisis while trying to put in some work at home. I repeat, we are managing a crisis while trying to put in some work from home. Because if this was a normal day and you had to be called to your hometown because your parents are sick or your children need you, they can't go to school or whatever, you would take leave. You'd totally be out of work to be able to handle that. But right now you're expected to handle that day in, day out, and then to be able to achieve work. So please, as we are pushing for the performance and productivity, let us understand to have performance conversations where we allow the employees to speak and we also speak. Not we are speaking at them, but we are having a conversation. The next thing we need to do is holistic knowledge of people issues. As I said, from talent management to people management, you must be holistic about understanding your team, however small or big, and the issues they are going through. Strengthen your policies within the organization. It becomes very, very important that you strengthen your policies. You'll find there's COVID-driven policies that are coming up. Now there's policies around health and safety where certain people have to wear protective gear. Organizations are spending a lot of money on masks, gloves, sanitizers, you know, and different programs. And also some for those organizations that did not have, I would recommend they also have some employee assistance programs and hotlines that can deal with counseling, and you can partner with different organizations that can help you with this. Sometimes it's too overwhelming for you to be able to do all this. Then the other thing is around flexible working policies. And here is, don't just tell people go and work from home. You have to have certain guidelines that help you, and Dixon really covered a lot of this when he was talking about ergonomics, how do you sit. For me, I have like spine issues, so I learned this because I worked from home for 12 years. And I'm telling you, working from home is not as simple. If you're a workaholic, you'll work even harder. If you are not if you're lazy, you'll procrastinate even more. So having guidelines for employees on how to work from home, whether they want part-time working, staggered hours. Some employees will say, I work best at night. Some say, I work better in the afternoon. Some want to work early in the morning and then get on with their work because they are at home. Kids are running around. Things are, if I turned my screen right now, you'd really laugh at what's going on here. But everything looks super here, isn't it? So it's very important that we really understand the realities of people. Right now, people are asking me, Sarah, should we have leave or no leave policies? When I say no leave, I'm sure many questions will start going into the Q&A. But let me tell you, people like Richard Branson removed leave policies in their organization and productivity shot up. So how did that happen? we can maybe go into the question and answer. But let me tell you, it's something that you can consider in your policies. And also emergency leave, care leave, these are things I've been talking about for years, and people said, obviously, we shouldn't be dealing with. Then we can look at employee contracts. We are changing them. We're also looking at liquid workforce. I know my time is coming up, but I just want to really address the liquid workforce for a little bit. For those of you who it's a new terminology, a liquid workforce is one where a firm actually can draw from a variety of resources. So you can go and get designers, you can get an accountant from a different firm, you can get technical people and just come in for a project and then they go. Or they can work as squads under a product leader. They are very focused on a product and then they go. Or you can outsource all your non-core functions so that they don't take too much time and money from the company resources. And I would just want to also say that these support functions, as they've been non-traditionally, are going to become something that we call an enablement teams. So HR, finance, IT, you're becoming innovators. You're supposed to innovate, you're supposed to lead this war because so many things are happening. And so you're going to move from just supporting to enabling. On the issue of motivation, I won't talk too much, but I'll just say one thing. Motivation is not like taking a shower. Don't say I motivated my employees yesterday or I motivated my employees last week and sent them pizza, so they should be fine. You need to think about doing it consistently and consistently so that at least you can get to the next stage. And with that, I think I will stop there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And it's quite informative and insightful. And we've been able to get to hear a lot of insights, more especially when it comes to community culture. And I liked where we talked about owning our own solutions. The other day, I was seeing some reports from Senegal where they've come up with their own invertilators, which are very, very cheap in terms of using. So those are some of the solutions we need to start thinking, becoming innovators, as you finished, you said, becoming innovators, strengthening our policies, and that's quite informative. And I hope us as HR, we're able to put our foot down and also start putting on our thinking hats and start coming up with these innovations. Now I'll join in to present the next speaker. That is Peter. I can see Peter has just joined us. And Peter is a business data analyst, system growth strategist, who has successfully created and implemented businesses forum and platforms over 15,000. He has directly assisted over 200 SMEs to scale up and equally mentored on Tony Elumulu Foundation. He's a certified Prince 2 Foundation project manager, life coach, and Peter is joining us from West Africa and from Lagos to give us insights in terms of planning and preparing for pandemic recovery and the future of workplace. Peter, are you able to hear me from where you are on your end?
Yes, I can hear you.
Fabulous, fabulous. Over to you, and great to have you this afternoon.
All right. Please permit me to get a hang of. Okay. Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Nigeria. This is West Africa, and I will welcome everyone to this very important webinar. I will be switching immediately to my slide, so please just allow me to do some. Okay, I need to share my slide. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, perfect. Now go to screen share.
Can you see my screen?
Yes,
all
now
right.
We can be able to see. Good.
Fantastic. Okay. I just want to thank you all for giving me this opportunity to share this. Truth of the matter is that this time has come on us, and we need to make the great use of it. I want to start with a quote by the great Albert Einstein. He said that we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. So the first thing I want to say in planning, as I'm going to be discussing planning and preparing for pandemic recovery, as well as the future workplace. So I'm going to just split it into two: planning and preparing for pandemic recovery on one side, and of course, the future workplace. So let me start with planning and preparing for pandemic recovery. we're already in the pandemic era. So now we're talking about how do we recover and how do we bounce back stronger. So the first thing, like I said, this quote says, the first thing we need to do is that we need to change the way we think. The thinking that got us into this season cannot get us out of this season. That's the first thing we need to realize. I saw this quote, someone shared this thing and it just caught me, said, in the rush to return back to normal, use this very time to consider which parts of normal are worth rushing back to. Because the truth of the matter is that the life you and I used to have no longer exists. So we're discussing the new normal. What's the new normal and how do we treat the new normal as it were? So you need to reflect and embrace the new normal. So the first thing I want to say in planning for your recovery is that you've got to, as a person, as an individual, as an organization, well, let me speak to the person because I know about 137 individuals have logged in. Have at least one global digital skill. Now, whether it's ability to do digital marketing very well, or ability to work as a data analyst, or ability to use machine learning language, or how to code, you have to use this period to at least, your preparation has to be very active. Have one digital global skill. Let me move on very fast. Number two, you should at least have 2 of the top 10 2020 work skills as recommended by World Economic Forum. Now, I don't know, many of us have said this, you can see it on my screen. World Economic Forum came up with this thing last year. They outlined the skills that were very critical in 2015 and the skills that are very critical that were going to be very critical for 2020, which we are here. And if you look at this, in 2015, and let me zoom it up. In 2015, complex problem solving was on the #1 skill you needed to have to thrive, either in the workplace or especially, I mean, we are discussing the workplace today. You needed this to thrive in the workplace as an employee. Complex problem solving, followed by coordinating with others, followed by people management, critical thinking, negotiation, quality control, service orientation, judgment and decision making, active learning, creativity. Now, look at this. These were the top 10 in 2015. But look at what happened in 2020. Complex problem solving. I'm going to show you a comparison. Complex problem solving became #1, followed by critical thinking. You may not appreciate this until I show you this. Look at this. Complex problem solving has remained top from 2015 up to now. It's still top, one of the top most important skill you need to have as an employee. Now, coordinating with others, which used to be #2, has fallen down to #5. And I will tell you the reason. Now, critical thinking has risen from #4 in 2015 to number two in 2020. Watch this. Creativity has moved from #10 in 2015 to #3 in 2020. People management has remained, I mean, it's dropped just by 1 step down from #3 to now #4. Coordinating with others that used to be #2 has fallen down to #5, and I will tell you the reason. Because where the need for critical thinking is very high, you don't have to tell people what to do, right? I mean, let me even leave that. Judgment and decision making, but you look at one interesting thing, that quality control and active listening fell off the list. All right? These two fell off the list. Now, so in analyzing them, like I said, coordinating with others lost by 3, people management lost by 1, critical thinking lost by, gained 2 steps higher, negotiation fell by 4, and service orientation fell by 1. All right? The ones that dropped out of the list are active listening and the quality control. And it said here that negotiation and flexibility were high on the list of skills for 2015. However, in 2020, machines will replace the decision-making process. There's something called machine learning. There's something called digital analytics. There's something called predictive analytics. Listen, see, what's happening in the US is driven by predictive analytics. It's not a human being that is saying, so right now, you know, I mean, for the people who are Christians, you have people that you call prophets. But right now, machines, they are machines that are prophets. I mean, they are prophetic machines, which means they can predict exactly what's going to happen. So they are people that are predicting the epidemic outbreak in certain locations. They are telling the government that So today we have 300 infected by coronavirus. By tomorrow, we're going to have 700. Those things are not historical. They are predictive. They are predictive. There are machines that are doing this. So there are machines that will tell you that this contract that we are going for, we will win this contract or we will not win it. So the need for negotiation skill has dropped because machines are going to take over most of the things that we used to do, use our brain to do. So active listening dropped off because emotional intelligence has taken over it. All right, let's go. The next thing is you must be able to work and collaborate remotely. Remote work used to be the alternative. Today, physical work is the alternative. Now, I know this is hitting some people and they're like, what are you talking about? You know, I think my brain is jamming. I'm trying to say too many things at the same time. See, the biggest mistake you can make as an employee of labor is to wait for the outbreak to be over so that you can go back to work. No, don't ever do that. In Man's Search for Meaning by, I've forgotten the author, a great book that everybody needs to read. Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl. It said that the people who survived, I mean, he was taken into a concentration camp, and you know, he said the first set of people that started dying in the Chinese concentration camp were the optimists, were the people who believed that, no, man, we are leaving this place today. That this year we are leaving this place. And I can bet there were too many optimists with regards to this coronavirus pandemic, especially in the part of the world where I come from. Some people, a lot of us believe that it was the white man's disease. Some of us believe that it wasn't an African disease. I mean, with the level of song that we experience here, this thing cannot affect us. Now, voila, it turns out that it has happened. So people have gone through denial to argument, to anger, to depression. We've experienced all such. But you see, they had to go and sit down and study what made Viktor Frankl succeed in the concentration camp. And one of the things I believe, among the many things, when you read that book, you find out is his ability to continue his life and not waiting for anything to happen. You were supposed to do an MBA program. You paused it because of pandemic. But you're now going back to a workplace that may not exist again. Meanwhile, if you are taking an online course, by now, you probably would have been closer to your MBA program than you were before. Anyway, let me go. So I'm saying remote work and collaborative work. And when I say collaborative work, in the new normal, internal competition will be irrelevant. I mean, as a matter of fact, even a company competing against another company will not make sense because your greatest competition is your last best self. It's not the fact that you are the best among everybody. It's the fact that you keep getting better and better. All right, let me go to the next. So the next point is be versed with the use of cloud solutions. As an individual, you have to know how to use the solutions, whether it's Slack or Trello or Zoom. Or I mean, some people are still wondering, what is this Zoom? What is this Zoom? What is Skype? What's all this? See, they are no longer cliches. They are no longer, Facebook just launched their own meeting room that can allow about 50 people. I mean, if you don't even understand that Facebook has launched a platform for you to meet in a group of 50 and you are waiting to get back to work, I think you should be fired before you get to work. I mean, but I don't have that right to fire until I meet your boss. The next point is that you need to understand and leverage data, big data, whether it's data science, data analytics, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. I want to say this: if you are a personal assistant, I don't know what I call it over there in other parts of the world, but we have people called personal assistant or executive assistant. Listen, you either don't have a job or your job is standing on one leg because Siri on Apple has replaced your work. There's this other one, Alexia, right? Alexia has taken over your job because Alexa can book your appointment for you. Alexa can tell you that, oh God, you are running late. Alexa can do everything you were doing as an executive assistant, but guess what? Alexa doesn't have emotion. Alexa doesn't get angry. Alexa doesn't feel tired. Alexa doesn't have boyfriend, girlfriend issue, doesn't have marital issue. Alexa is not even married. Why would I have to engage you, keep you on the job, when Siri, who has committed to be single for the rest of our life, is willing to work for me. So I'm saying a lot of the job that you had, that you left, has already been taken over, because a lot of executives will start giving serious thought to artificial intelligence. Okay, let me move. I'm running out of time. Obviously, with everybody going online and with everybody going digital, online security and cyber security is going to be a big deal. The question is, how prepared and how ready are you? All right, I'm getting signed that my time is up. Let me just put this in bullet points. Understand the changes in employees and consumer behaviors. Understand the changes in employees and consumer behaviors. The way your consumers were ingesting your services has moved. They've got an alternative. And employers and labor must understand the changes in employee behavior. I think PTSD might be something that some employers of labor might consider for some employees, but let's not go into that. Restructure your systems. Your processes and your operations has to be totally revamped. Everything that was working before cannot work again. The fact that somebody places an order, you have to wait for 1 week or 2 weeks, cannot work again. All right. Then you have to invest in human capacity, build human capacity, and invest in technology. And so the last part of it is the future workplace. The future workplace will be a composition of a shared sense of purpose, culture of collaboration, and technology, right? Your company cannot just be a company existing for the bottom line. As a business owner, you must be able to share meaning. Why do people have to work for you? A sense of shared purpose is more important, because people are going to question everything when they get back to work. Why am I working here? Why do I need to keep working here, right? And technology is going to be driving business, and you must push the culture of collaboration very well. I'm going to list the rest. Education and awareness. We have to do a lot of education of our people and staff education, and we have to create a lot of awareness as our organization. Hygiene is going to be top. Getting back to work for the next 1 year, we probably may not be hugging a lot and all of those things. So we are going to create a lot of this. There will be a high intensity hygienic culture in our work environment. And workplaces must start also considering economic stimulus for their employees. I understand some employers have decided to keep paying their employees' salaries, and it's very tough over here in Nigeria, because we don't get a lot of support from government like people in the US and UK do. All right, and the HR must write alternative workplace policies and ethics, because some things have got to be included. We need to embrace outsourcing and collaboration. We will have more data-driven decisions. We'll make more data-driven decisions in the future workplace, and there will be a rise of innovation in the future workplace. I want to stop there. I want to thank every one of you for listening. Thank you so much. I hope this was useful to you. Thank you.
Super, Peter. Super, Peter. Excellent, excellent. And a better way to wrap up in terms of looking in terms of where we are in current scenarios, and also understanding what are the key skills, how do we need to prepare ourselves. And I liked what you said, we need to look at taking 1 or 2 skills from the World Economic Skills Survey in 2020. This was published, I think, last year or a year before. And they didn't even know we'd have this pandemic. But as you can see, they're even becoming more relevant in terms of what they published at that particular time. Very insightful. The other key takeaway was, how can we as HR or professionals be able to continue working without being affected? And I liked the insight you said, if we can be able to look into the book by Viktor Franklin on Man's Search for Meaning. So that's a good takeaway in terms of looking into it. Investing in human capital and technology, without a doubt, is definitely going to be the next big agenda for us in Africa. And as I mentioned earlier on, is how do we invest in our employees? How do we invest in terms of coming up with technologies that are homegrown? And someone has actually popped that question. How do we even go about that? I saw, as we go into the Q&A session, here in Kenya, the airline flyer, Kenya Airways, has now decided to now change the the flights for passengers to be cargos. So they're actually doing a lot of more cargo, and they've not even removed the seats. I saw they were even tying the cargos on the seats, literally. The other thing I saw which they were doing, they've started coming up with masks, because they are seeing there is going to be a potential need of them having to have masks for their employees and for the customers who come to the plane. They have already started an industry which is doing that. So, and this starts to show us that now the world is locked down away from Africa. So how do we get our feet to run? How do we start going back in terms of business and getting to the normalcy and also profitability, as we mentioned? So without much, I would like to first of all thank you all the speakers who presented this afternoon. You were spot on and quite challenging, mind provocative in terms of the questions that you asked. And as we go on, I would like to ask questions which have been raised, and I'll start by one of the questions which was already asked. And this I'm throwing to Rabison, who was our first presenter. As we go on in terms of asking questions, I would encourage you to now start asking those questions so that we have our panelists engaged. If you want to ask a question, raise your hands. I can see 2 hands. I'll pick you shortly to come in on board and ask your questions on board. So Rabison, there's a question which has been asked. One of the biggest challenges in managing performance of employees, given that the productivity has really declined, yet efforts is so high, only that it is only yielding results, and it's already causing anxiety, especially if you have regular evaluations. How do we navigate through this terrain? And I think the question is, how do we manage performance of our employees during the current terrain? So if Rabison, you're there, let me check if he's there. Rabison, are you there?
Yes, I am. Yeah, as indicated, productivity remains critical, but it is important to be very objective in our measuring of this productivity. One thing to underscore is the fact that every stakeholder has to now understand the fact that for productivity to happen even on the home front, there are so many obstacles, there are so many frequencies that people are chasing, and so many disturbances that people have access to every single day. Here's a key principle. Out of integrity, the board, management, and leadership of organizations must create the relevant infrastructure for employees to perform optimally. It would be wrong to expect employees to operate at 100%, and yet you have not given them the tools. I know if a company, they say everybody leave all your laptops at work, but they still are expected to perform some work. They say, but you're supposed to be online, you're supposed to be on WhatsApp groups, but at your own expense. That is a very wrong way of looking at things. You should only demand productivity when you've given people the necessary tools and mechanisms for them to be able to do so. How do you measure productivity? Results speak for themselves. What we said earlier on, there'll be a lot of flexible working hours. People will work when it best suits them. Somebody will say, I work best from midnight to 3 a.m. During the day, I want to play with my family, I want to exercise, I want to do this and that. It's not for you now to police people. Are you at work? Sarah said it earlier on. It's not for you to say, management by observation. 8 o'clock, is everybody checked in? 5 o'clock, is everybody checked in? In life, you are rewarded for one thing. You are rewarded for results. And results speak for themselves. Metrics speak for themselves. Measurement is easy. If a report is due at 3 p.m. and the report comes through at 3 p.m., you've produced. It's not so much about me seeing you face to face. I know different generations, the older generations before me prefer face to face. They want meetings. I'm sure you know of many bosses who call for meetings, and as soon as the meeting is over, they say stay behind for another meeting. But now productivity that we are looking at is the results that you send through. The work that you can produce when the report is there, when the spreadsheet is there, when the financial report is there, no errors whatsoever, productivity has been achieved. It doesn't matter if I've done it in 3 hours when you expected me to work from 8 to 5 p.m. We need to have a flexible mindset. Change calls for us to change with the times, change with the dictates of what this new normal is talking about. Yes, we can be productive, but let's not be hung up in the old way of working 8 to 5. That is a rigid mentality. We now need to realize that results must speak for themselves. When we deliver, that's it. If I did it in 1 hour, it's because I I can do it in an hour. Why should you punish me for the rest of the day? Thank you.
Thank you, Rabison. Thank you, Rabison. And insightful. As questions are being popped in, I would want to also bring on board that we also have a panelist who's joining us from US. She's called Blessings. And Blessings, I want to give you this opportunity, if you're there, to help us answer this question which has been posted here. It's clear that vendors of various means are holding meetings remotely and would be competing out of each other this time in terms of making money. Which one would you recommend as the best with minimal cost when it comes to holding meetings online, or solutions which are probably out there to benefit employees in terms of having meetings? Over to you, Blessing.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Blessing. The pandemic has made us see things in different ways, and better communication has come up. For us, we use meetings, we use opportunities like the Zoom and Slacks. A lot of Slacks, people put in their questions. Employees put in maybe questions, and anybody in the Slack can answer. And we also have the Zoom, just like what we are doing right now, to have this one-on-one conference. We also have Treadlow. People also use that, and Hangout. Hangout has also come up with Hangout Meet, which people can also use for their employees. So these are some recommendations, and if you need more, you can go online and Google. You come up with some better ones. But for now, Zoom is top right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Blessings, for that. And it's wonderful to hear you joining us from US. I'm sure some of the questions will be thrown in terms of how you're managing this pandemic while working at home. Over to the next question. I can see a lot of questions are being thrown into Sarah. And I want to start with the first question to Sarah. And this was asked earlier on. And the question was, Sarah, please explain what shared leadership means and how trust impacts it. So please share what shared leadership means and how trust impacts it. Over to you, Sarah.
Okay. Shared leadership, sometimes also called team leadership, has been around for quite some time. Actually, when I went in to do my studies, and I wanted a new type of leadership that allows for various people to participate in leading something, because as having been a leader myself, I realized I don't have all the answers. Becoming a leader in your 30s, you realize you have people reporting to you who are older than you. And sometimes they ask you, do you think you know more about this situation than us who've seen it 60 times? And so different things definitely have put you in that position, including hierarchy and structure or serendipity. And so I'm always very humble when I'm coming on board as a leader, and I've used shared leadership tactics, which means depending on what we are trying to achieve as an outcome, I would place the expert or the person who has experience in that piece in the team to lead. And even as a leader, I do what we call step-down leadership. In a meeting, I let that person chair the meeting. I let them lead our solutions. I let them collaborate with the whole team and tell us where to go. It does not take anything away from because these management titles that we are confusing for leadership and management are two different things. So you can share leadership. As I've told you, to be able to get into this phase of doing online trainings and webinars, my daughter, who is 21 years old, is leading the team through the back end and making sure we know what we are doing when we are getting on these things, how we are handling things. So this is a time for us to really embrace shared leadership and to choose and pick who, and sometimes also the leader just is not in the mental space and the heart space to lead. You're also going through your own stuff. So if you practice shared leadership, you can easily give the mantle or the baton to somebody else to also have a turn. And that's what we mean by shared leadership. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for the insights. I'm going to come back to you with so many questions being thrown to you. The next question I want to throw is to Dixon. Is Dixon around? The question being asked here is, what are the practical steps that one who is not knowledgeable about global skills should take without finance to embark on training, looking at economic status and situation of the person? So what practical steps that one who is not knowledgeable about global skills should take without finance and embark on training, looking into the economic situation of the person? This can also go to Peter and Dr. Dixon in terms of answering. Over to you,
Well,
Dixon.
Thank you, Joseph. I think that's a very good question. There's a need for us to reskill ourselves and then also broaden our skill. If you a secretary or HR person, maybe it will be a good time for you to begin to look at the issue of acquiring more skill. First one will be a digital skill, and there's so many places to see it. We are giving something in the webinar, especially at this point. There's a lot that is going on in webinars, and most of them are free because we're giving back to humanity at this point in time. A lot of organizations actually have a lot of free online resources. You can reach out. It's one of them. They have a lot of free access to skills that will help you. We have what is called MOOCs, mass online resources that you can actually get out there free. I think the thing is for us to be able to get there in the web. There's a whole lot, you know, that you can get in the web. So there's a lot you can get in the web. Just look at it and find out where are you and what do you require to do to make yourself relevant. I told a group of executive assistants and PAs that at this point in time, maybe after the organization come back, maybe their job will not be required at the rate at which it was required before. And then they also need to learn the issue of business skill. How do they begin to get together and develop businesses, register organizations, and become service providers in the area of executive assistants and so on. So they'll begin to look at the issue of business acumen. So I think those things are things you can see. There's a lot of things that are online that you can get online. So if you need more in terms of specific skills and where you can get them, please feel free to contact me after this class. I'm also, after this webinar, I'm on, and any of the facilitators that we have today can also be of help to you. I know that also Peter has runs things like that also in his base in Lagos. Peter, do you have anything to add?
I think you pretty much said it, Dr. Dixon. You pretty much said what was on my mind. I just wanted to read a quote. I saw this thing on the Instagram page of a friend of mine. I am Steve Harris. He said, "Don't just Netflix and chill. YouTube and learn. YouTube and learn." So Netflix income has skyrocketed because many people are just busy. The truth is that the volume of university education, advanced education on YouTube is amazing. Go to YouTube, sit down on YouTube. All you need to do is buy data, the same data you've been using to do Instagram, Netflix, buy data, sit down, and you can school yourself into just anything. The one question that should always be on your mind is, if they bring in any technology into the place where I work, can I still be considered fit to operate it? If you work in a scan, diagnostic scan lab, and they are bringing in an MRI machine. So if they bring in an MRI machine, can I operate the machine, or would they go and hire someone else who can operate it and probably find a way to downgrade me? So the idea is just retool yourself. Don't go back to your workplace the way you left. Find a skill, and the cheapest, easiest way is YouTube. There are many well-meaning people. You're in Kenya, get in touch with Sarah. Look at all the panelists. Find a way to hook up with them. They have things that they have on their handles, whether it's social media, Facebook or Instagram. You can approach them. Some of you are very close to them. Just find a way to just get them to mentor you, and they take them seriously and take whatever they tell you very serious. I think YouTube is just the free learning space we all have.
Thank you, Peter. And I actually wanted to ask the same question. What other avenues can one have? And you've really pointed some of them. Interesting scenario. And one of the questions which was raised before I jump to the next question is someone saying, in my country, the public sector works processes are largely analog. If you're a policymaker, what steps would you take at this time to curtail and adverse effects of this? So this is open to all the panelists. I would not want to point specific person. How do we help? And this is perhaps for like every majority of the countries. You'll find most of the public sector institutions are still in the analog system. And now with this current pandemic, they have gotten the opportunity perhaps to learn, hey, we need these 2 or 3 digital skills, the digital intelligence that Dixon was speaking about, and Peter and the other panelists. So if any of you can be able to answer that or give an insight in regards to that, we'll highly appreciate.
I think I would say something quickly. We need to make a business case on why we need that. Business case is important. And what makes it very, very simple for us is that the pandemic has ushered in or heralded us into the new normal. That people are working from home now. So it means that you can have a clear case saying that now this is what happened. So the pandemic gives you a very good opportunity to make a business case on why the organization should invest in technology. And for those of us who are in Africa, one of the things you need to do is to a kind of benchmark. What are the public sector doing in developed parts of the world? You have things, you have brothers, you have the system also there you read. How are they managing the kind of organization you're working in London or in the UK or in the US or any part of the world? So benchmark. And also some African countries have gone ahead of the other. So try a lot of benchmarking and that will help you to see what others are doing. But business case is the place to start. Let me give others opportunity to share something.
Okay, one more.
I like your contribution on the business case. The other thing is that many times we wish for our nations to progress, and yet we are not giving input. We are on the sidelines and we are not getting our hands dirty. So many people have ideas of how to integrate different ministries. If you go across the continent, you find the police have got their own database. The national registration has got their own database. The healthcare system has got their own database. Now with this challenge that we have, it has profiled the need for collaboration in disaster management, collaboration in knowing what the left hand or right hand is doing, in collaboration in terms of the use of resources. So right now is the proper time to bring about the business case for purposes of advancing technology. We see how technology is helping advanced economies in coming up with solutions. Right now, Africa is waiting for a vaccine from elsewhere. Why? It's because we are not using technology. We are not advancing ourselves. We're just consumers of what already is, not creators of what can be. We must be able right now to challenge our leaders. Many of us we don't even know our local MP. We don't even know the Minister of Health. We just talk from the sidelines. But at the policy level, we must be able to engage them and say, we are contributors. We have ideas. Of course, yes, not every idea will be accepted. You must know that. But just know that I've made a contribution to Africa, to my people, by bringing ideas to the table. Let's do that. Business case, yes, very key. But let's invest our skills, our abilities, our experiences to the discourse of the day.
Thank you,
I would like
Rabitson.
to say
okay, yes, Sarah, go on. Sorry.
Yes, just something very short. Okay. If I was a policymaker, and I pray I become a policymaker who can make such decisions in a country, I just heard recently that one of our leads in the country, Professor Bitangemoyo, I think you know him, Joseph, said that like Kenya spent 12 billion on importing mayonnaise, right? If we can just reprioritize some of our budgets and look at what is happening right now and what do we need to start spending our budgets on, that is the first thing I would start looking at. Where can we actually reprioritize our budgets to the right things that actually address the needs in hand?
Thank you, Sarah. And the next question as we are closing in will be more for people management. And I would want to start because it was asked like 2 times to Sarah. I'll start with Sarah and I'll ask any other panelist to answer. So there are 3 questions in one. So I'll just combine them. So what would you do to employees who have resigned right now, waiting to join to another company? How will you deal with that? And then the other question was, if someone, if an employee in question has resigned from current employment and has an offer from the new company, how do you differ without litigation? I think it's the same question. And the last one was, can an employee be expected to present his or her organization while on unpaid leave due to this pandemic, e.g. when they receive a call to a client? So I'll start with Sarah and then all the other panelists can jump in to answer as we conclude. Thank you.
So 2 things here. Regardless of what we're going through, I think integrity is very important and we need to keep to our promises. Obviously, we went to hire for a certain reason, especially for key workers and key positions. I usually like to have a critical talent analysis, so I believe there's key positions and peripheral positions that support probably some of these. What do I mean? In a bank, if I walk in and I don't see tellers, it's not a bank. But if I walk in and I see tellers and I probably don't see the manager, I'll still be served. So a teller to me is a key position. So if people have actually made you resign elsewhere and you're coming to join us, we need to keep to that contract. And probably if we want to renegotiate on what the terms are and everything, and people can clearly see, if you're authentic enough and the culture that you have used throughout the recruitment, I think can help the conversation, because I think people are having to go back to have a conversation around the terms of the contract. For instance, if you've just killed all the benefits for top leadership and you've had this person in a leadership position, you'll need to have that conversation and be honest and truthful about it. But don't just refuse the person based on things have changed. It's not right, especially if they've resigned. On the issue of if, I think there was a second part I've forgotten, Joseph. Just remind me again. Sorry, people. There's a second part and it's just disappeared from my head.
If an employee is on unpaid leave currently at home, are they expected to represent the organization if they decide to receive a call from a client?
Yes, absolutely. And again, goes back to the culture. And this is where I'm saying shared leadership becomes very important. It is important to get the input of employees on how they feel about doing some of these things. I'm telling leadership right now, it's important we roll our hands and we will do certain jobs that employees used to do. And if you're doing that, then you're able to ask for more from your employees. Be courteous, build trust, and believe you me, people will give you even when you're not giving them anything. Because as I always say, financial currency is not the only currency. There's currency on trust, there's currency on, so make sure you're building the other currencies as you're working with your team. They'll do anything for you, whether they're being paid or not. Thank you.
Okay. Any other panelist who wants to contribute to that? Okay. Unless there is no other, there's one question which was asked, and I tend to think if I go without asking it, it will not be fair. And it was a question addressed to what Rabison had presented. And I'll just jump into the question. Are we stepping into the first world's work culture where one is willing to work for 3 or more different companies? How does that affect the current and the present policies? I think that's a very good question to end this particular conversation. And I tend to think on my end, that's where we are heading. But over to you, the panelists.
I believe, let me start, and the person talked about the fact that it's a new normal. Are we even creating jobs? Definitely, as we have presented this afternoon, there is an opportunity for new jobs to be created, only if we have the necessary tools, the necessary experience, and the necessary attitude towards those opportunities. You look, when challenges come our way, we have an opportunity to either run away or confront the challenges. Right now, if you learn about machine learning, if you learn about coding, if you learn about if you get your critical thinking skills right, problem solving the right way, even advanced Microsoft Excel skills. A lot of us don't have a lot of these skills. It's time to do an audit of what we are capable of. It's no use expecting a job, expecting to secure employment when you're not putting in what is necessary. Your employability is your responsibility, not your employer's responsibility. But coming to the question of are we getting into the first world? Certainly we are. They remember the workplace has got many generations, and the older generation is moving out, and the newer generation that was born in technology, okay, BBT is gone, born before technology, is fast moving away. Most of the people that are in the workplace right now understand technology and understand the new direction that things are going. It is possible that we will get requests in time for people who want to work flexible working hours. We will get requests for people who want to operate in the gig economy. I'm working from 8 to 10 for one employer, from 3 to 4, I'm doing music lessons. At midnight, I'm doing recording in a studio. We now need our policies to be agile. I know right now we are very rigid. We are very rigid in our approach. We say, look, 8 to 5, it has to be 8 to 5. But it's about time we realize that the new normal is here, and Corona has actually imposed it on us. Yes, we have been reactive, but I like what my brother Peter said earlier on, because there are 3 types of leaders: those that react, those that are proactive, but there are those that are predictive, using data analytics to be able to predict where things are going. As leaders, we now need to use predictive analytics to be able to take decisions going into the future. And the future is here, by the way. We now need to embrace it.
Thank you very much, Robinson, for that. I mean, you just took a lot of things from my heart, and I think it's very, very, very instructive. I think that the reality is, if I take what Robinson said and I take what Sarah said, and bring it together, there need to be a conversation. When we get back, there need to be a conversation. What the pandemic have done is to get people to force people to sit down and reflect. Some people have never reflected for the past 12 years. So some employees are going to come back after the reflection. They're going to find out that, hey, I wasn't supposed to be here in the first place. Oh, no, I have been a square peg in a round hole. And as an employer of labor, you have to open your door for those conversations without any ill feeling, right? And one of the things that Jim Collins said is, to move your organization forward, you have to get the wrong people off the bus, get the right people on the bus, and then you determine where you are going. So sometimes the wrong people voluntarily, and a wrong person is not someone who does not have ability. No, a wrong person is JJ Okocha in the hospital. A wrong person is David Doe in the banking hall. There is nothing wrong with him. It's just that he's in the wrong place, so he can't deploy his best. So you have to open the door for those conversations to hold, right? And if you notice, Robinson said something very instructive. A lot of people in the workplace are, the workplace is gradually being taken over by millennials and the Gen Zs. But guess the irony? The owners of the workplace are still shared between the Generation X and Generation Y. So the millennial and the Gen Zs are cool with Zoom. The guy who is the owner of the company says, I don't understand this thing. It doesn't make sense to me. I want to see people and talk to them. I want to touch, I like the flesh and blood. So typically when I did the analysis of millennials, one of the things that came up 5 years ago was that they don't even like to marry. They don't like stress. Now the Gen Zs, they just don't like human beings. They just want to be on their own. So for the Gen Zs, telling them to work remotely, you have fulfilled their gratification, because in the first place, they didn't even like human beings to start with. They wanted to be by themselves. Now their boss, the chairman of the company, is a Gen X, Gen Y, who believes in FaceTime, who believes in clock in, clock out. So that's why I said HR needs to sit down and rewrite. The policy manuals we use, I don't know over there in Kenya, the policy manual we use in Nigeria, it looks like industrial age. In fact, it was like after the agrarian age, they created a policy manual for people who are working in the farm, because I don't understand. Why do you need to clock in? Why do you need to clock out? There are some things that doesn't make sense. Two people will meet themselves, they are in love in a company, you say one person should resign. It doesn't make sense. I don't understand. Why should they resign? And you say because of fraud. Hello, are there not people in the office who are sleeping with themselves and they have not been fraud? Why should a husband and a wife not sleep in the depth of productivity is Sarah and her husband working in the same company? Because Sarah is not going to be distracted. She's not thinking about, hey, rain is falling with my husband. In fact, she will just walk to another department. Honey, how are you? And life will be on, go on. So there are too many things in the policy document that we have, employee manual, that doesn't make any sense. So we need to begin to pay for productivity. Now, in the US, and sure Blessing can attest to that, you are paid per hour. We have not been able to work out pay per hour in Nigeria because why? We don't even know. HR does not know. Employers of labor do not know. The only person that is working is the guy that shows up early and says, good morning, sir. Good morning, ma. And closes very late by 9 p.m., which doesn't make sense. So we need to, and one of the things I said that, one of the things I said to myself is, HR should stop. I think we have failed in performance management in this part of that. Sorry, Dr. Dixon, I know that's your field, but in this part of the world, we have failed in performance management because what we do as performance management is micromanaging. Somebody who has a family, who knows when the baby food is finishing, who knows when fuel needs to be replaced, just comes to work, and you think you need to remind the person to do everything. As you treat the person like a child. I think we need to focus on talent management. And we need to, as HR managers, stop reading Harvard Business School. Because I don't understand what is reading those. Go and learn talent management from record label owners. Go and learn talent management from football coaches. Don Jazzy has a talent that he wants to milk money from. He doesn't care what you are doing with it. It's not his business. It's not managing. He just knows that studio time is 12:30 and you dare not come late. So those guys, he knows that you have to do 5 shows this year. And each of the shows, he must make 10 million naira off each show. Meaning that if you end up doing 3 shows, you are still owing him 20 million. That's the way this thing is productivity driven. That's why there's no fight. If you keep your own end of the bargain, we are cool. If you don't. So I think owners of businesses, a lot of them don't understand the new business terrain. So you invest, you have an oil installation, you are investing a lot in protecting. See, I think the next big thing that will happen will be cybersecurity. Because your oil installation will no longer need any physical person to be there, because everything will be everything will be digitally driven. So some guys are going to steal your oil on their computer. So you will need to invest a lot into protecting your creating cyber policemen and policewomen. All of these things are sounding strange to somebody who is from Gen X, Gen Y. So Gen X, Gen Y business owners, you need to have a handshake, or you need to visit Sarah and let Sarah bring you to a conference. Let there be a conference, sit down. You need to be secure in yourself. I am the owner of this business. It doesn't matter. So let the ideas that run this business come from, see, the guys that have everything it takes to run the businesses that's in the new normal. They are the guys that don't look any serious. But you need to create a cause. You need to create a cause for them. You need to create an ideology. Companies cannot be run by profit and losses. Companies has to be run by ideologies. Give them something they are willing to die for. And they know where they're going to get the insight and the intelligence to run your company.
Wonderful, wonderful, Peter. Amazing. You took the podium where the spirit was on you, and very insightful. I thank you for that. And as we go on to this conclusion, I don't know if there's any other person who wanted to contribute, like 1 minute. I want to end this by also allowing some of the participants to ask us questions. I can see Bruno, Alashi, and Jennifer. I've given them an opportunity to speak. I don't know if they are there. If they're not there, I would just want at least one of the panelists to contribute to that as we end.
Okay, I'm here. My name is Alashi.
Perfect, Alashi. Over to you.
Okay, Yes, thank you very much, everyone. I think this session has been very impactful. Majorly, my responsibility, what I just want to do is to give the feedback to the speakers. Everybody has done so well. As much as possible, if I get your contacts, I think I was able to get that of Peter. I like to follow up on you as well. You know, insightful thoughts on every aspect of it. I don't think I have any questions right now.
Okay.
But I have loads of lessons that I've taken from here that are applicable in my organization as well. Thank you very much, guys.
Fabulous, Alashi. And it's encouraging to hear you're joining us as well.
Yeah,
Jennifer,
Joseph,
Bruno?
Jennifer is also here.
Fabulous,
Yes,
Jennifer.
Jennifer is here.
Yes.
Yeah,
Jennifer.
thank you so much. I'm so fired up. You guys, thank you for this. Peter, I'm in agreement with you. It can't be about profit and loss. Ideology is key. How then do we connect into the other skills, the other values that the employees have? It is very key, and the message has to be preached. I know people have to change their ideologies, the way they think and the way they see life. Otherwise, thank you so much. I would love to get in touch with all of you, because we're also organizing something similar here in Uganda. We are trying to come up with a COVID support system for employers and organizations and also individuals that would want to. So I'll be contacting you for assistance and to also enrich some of the programs that we're trying to develop. Thank you so much.
Most welcome, Jennifer. Thank you so much for joining us. Bruno, are you there? I think Bruno is not there. Over to the panelists. As we conclude, perhaps one word as we end this session, and also as I conclude to the audience. Is Bruno there? Okay, over to the panelists.
Well, thank you, everybody. Good having this session with you. Like I said, the pandemic has created a new opportunity for us to do some reflection. My recommendation is that we'll go back and look at how do we take advantages that we are presented with by this pandemic. It's not all gloom and doom. There's something great. The offices are going to come back and the office is going to change. There's some people that are not coming back. They say they're not coming back. You know, they have been enjoying this working at home, so don't expect them to be back. So offices are going to sit down, reorganize, change their plan, look at the things they have started doing before. Some of our strategic plans and our tactical plans have to change. And there's the policies need to change. Like the gig economy is coming. People are going to be doing things. Some of the skills that we have in the office today, maybe we have 5 accountants, maybe they will need only 2, not 5. So what are the 3 going to do? The 3 may have to step aside and start thinking about how they can operate a chartered accountant and giving services to other organizations. Let's put our thinking cap. There's a lot of the tunnel. Thank you.
Thank you, Dixon. Robinson.
As I conclude, I just shared my contacts there if someone was asking for them. It's very important to realize that in the season that we are in now, self-care is critical. Develop the leader in you. It's time to be a bit selfish right now, even during lockdown. Focus on yourself. Do a gap analysis. What do I not know? Do a SWOT analysis of your life. What am I strong in? What am I not strong in? Discover your purpose in this time, so that even as you go into the new normal, you're doing things you love, you're doing things that you're passionate about, you're doing things that move you, and you're leaving a mark, indelible marks on the sands of time. It's about time that you realize that management begins at the point of managing yourself. So even as you operate in the new normal, become the leader that you want to see in others, because opportunities are out there. But if all you do is cry, yes, it's good to be emotional. We are emotional beings. We have veins, we have arteries, we have thoughts, intentions. But it's very important beyond crying to, remove those tears and begin to see opportunities. The time to cry is over. Right now, it's time to embrace the new normal and say, do with what I have to create the future I want to see for me, my organization, and for my family. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robinson.
I think I'd like to give my closing remarks just by talking about productivity, because as much as we are telling many organizations, don't micromanage your workers, don't follow what they're doing, there's somebody still out there thinking, but I want them to perform, including myself. I want my employees to perform even in this era. I know they're going through a lot of stuff. I know there's a lot of crisis and everything, but I want to survive. And so I want to make sure that people are producing, they're productive. So what are the 3 things that I want you to think about when you think about productivity, even for yourself at home, whether you're doing personal things or you're doing work things, and for your employees? Ask them and ask yourself as a company. Today, there are 3 things that we need to do in terms of productivity. They fall in one category. The first category is the things we must do. What are those things we must do? I'll give you a personal example. I was telling my daughter yesterday, we must eat in a day, even if things are going well or whatever, we must eat. If we can't eat in a day, we should eat in 2 days. I know there are people who can survive longer, but it falls in that. So we must produce that thing that we must eat, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner. So you think even in a business, what must you do for you to be able to survive, and list things in that. And then the second category is what should you do? So the things you should do are not a must, but you should do as you're moving. So like learning these new skills, getting technology and whatever. We know most of Africa doesn't have technology, so they're not on webinars, but they should get on webinars. They should get on technology and whatever. So that is something that you can think short to medium term thinking for your business, for yourself, for the home. You should clean your house. You must not clean it every day, maybe if you don't want to, but you should clean it once in a while. And finally, the final category of productivity is to ask yourself, what do I want to do? So that category of the things I want to do, I mean, for your productivity, you don't have to do them. I want to watch Netflix. I don't want to be here doing slides and doing whatever. I want to watch Netflix for a whole week, and I want to eat, I don't know how much, but should you? Again, so the things we usually want to do are the ones we focus on doing the whole day, and that's what I tell my employees, instead of doing the things we must do. So it's important as leaders and organizations to clarify your list, know the things that must be done, the things that should be done, and the things that people want to do. Because usually the third list are not things that you really, really have to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Impressive. Peter?
Thank you very much, Sarah, for that. You are an employee of an organization. So going back, 2 things I would like, among the many things, I mean, Sarah has thrown up some questions, but in addition to the questions she's thrown up, I want you to ask yourself, before now, the question was, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? So that's why people are wondering, should I do work when I'm on an unpaid leave? Should I? Remember I said, the thinking that got you here. There's a book, What Got You Here Cannot Take You There. I've forgotten the author's name. I don't know what's happening. Why am I forgetting the author's names? I mean, all right. Right? What Got You Here Cannot Take You There. Google it. Fantastic book you need to read. Every mindset of entitlement cannot take you into the post-COVID era. If you feel entitled over anything, you're going to be at loss. Before now, you were asking, what's in it for me? From now and getting back to work, you need to start asking, what's in me for it? Not just what's in it for me, what's in me for it? So that's first question. The second question I think you should be asking is, what am I going to be an expert in? And what am I going to be a specialist on? Experts are not paid the money specialists are paid. An accountant is an expert. A chartered accountant is a specialist. Someone who works in the IT department is an expert. A data analyst is a specialist. In fact, right now, they're even going deeper into defining people called data scientists. You have to create a niche for yourself. You have to differentiate yourself. It's a world of differentiation. It's no longer brick and mortar any longer. If your boss does not understand it, be the one that takes your company across this big divide. Be the one. It's enough to say, my company is not doing this. Like I said, what's in me for it? What can you bring into play? Your boss has set up the business. He or she has run it all this while. Right now, his wingspan is up. Some bosses, they have expanded, they have maxed out their wingspan. In an aircraft, they measure how far an aircraft can fly by its wingspan. Maybe your boss has exhausted his or her wingspan. They may not admit it. You need to build the extra wingspan that takes this company to the next level. You need to tell yourself, I can actually be a partner in this business. I don't care what the business is. If you have the solution that takes the business beyond this divide, you are definitely going to be differentiated. But please, by all means, don't go back the same way you left work. Invest in retooling yourself, reskilling yourself. Be a specialist in something as you're going back to work. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you so much, Peter, and quite insightful. Is Blessings there to give us a final word?
Yeah, hello everyone. My final word to everyone is we understand that we're all in different countries, but what has united us all is this pandemic, and we're all striving different ways we can approach this. In doing that, we need to take cognizance of our business cases, our business models. Some business processes might need to change. And systems like the one we have here, we are doing more of integrations and agile processes. People will need to become more agile. Our bosses need to become more agile. Agility is being flexible. Short processes, things that will revolve into something new and keep innovating, innovation. So these are things the employees need to start looking at, agile processes. No more the very fixed ones like the waterfall stereotype. No. Finally, in summary, I would like to conclude by saying that we should embrace this pandemic and see new opportunities in it, because there are a lot more. I've seen businesses grow this time. I've seen people become billionaires in this time. And what are they doing that we are not doing? Those are questions we need to start asking ourselves. They are doing something, that means they were prepared for this opportunity. That means in the past, they were acquiring knowledge that was going to be useful now. So we need to start acquiring knowledge. Me, for one, I've become an IT, I'm into coding right now. Those are things I didn't think of doing in some months ago. I'm also into cybersecurity. So these are things we need to start looking into. I'm not saying everybody should go into the same field. You can become, like what Peter even said, you can become a specialist in whatever you're doing. The key point is being outstanding. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Blessings, and quite insightful. And I like the aspect of agile working. It's one of the things that is actually upcoming in terms of how we work. As we bring to an end, I would like to just share my screen and also to say we at ABMC have the privilege of thanking you and thanking you all the participants for joining us this evening, all these panelists who are here. Thank you for joining us and giving us insights. What we're going to do after this particular webinar, we're going to share the recording, and on the recording, I'll ensure that I've put all the email addresses so that you can be able to contact them if need be. And with those few remarks, mine is to say thank you. Some of the initiatives that ABMC has done during this pandemic is actually offer free courses. And as you can see on your screen, we're actually offering up to around 8 courses for free. And you can be able to log in and be able to start engaging and learning during this process. This is ending at the end of this month. So take advantage of the time that you currently have to just ensure you log in and start learning. So with those few remarks also is to share what we have already covered during this particular webinar. Some of the questions which were asked were actually pertinent to the next webinar, which is on the new economies or the new marketplace and business. And this would be, let me share my screen once again. this will be coming up this coming Friday. As you can see, some of the powerful speakers we've also brought in together. If I were you, I will not miss one also on this one. Some of the questions, there's someone who asked about manufacturing, about how to navigate the business. So those questions, critical thinking, those are the questions which you need to answer, to get answered by attending on this particular webinar. I've shared the link on the chat button. Ensure you click and register. It's going to be on Friday, 2 p.m. Lagos time. Depending on where you're joining in, you'll also be able to get the connection in terms of where you're joining in. So with those few remarks is to say thank you. God bless you so much. I'd want to give this opportunity to one of the panelists, Pastor Tony, I don't know if he's still there, or Dr. Dixon, to end with a word of prayer. And it's been real, and I thank you so much for the opportunity to be with us this afternoon.
Thank you very much. I think this has been very, very challenging. Most of us who've been at the background, we've been listening very keenly to get the most of this seminar. And I want to encourage everyone, be the best that you can ever be. Look for the best version of you. Discover the best version of you and bring it to the fore. Bring it to play. As we finish, prayer is that God will bless and keep every one of us and keep us to bring us to greater heights than we have ever attained. And may his presence be with you in this time and keep you safe from every plague, every disease. May he keep you and your family. May he protect you and your businesses and cause you to shine and grow. May his word be real to you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen and amen. Powerful.
Amen.
Dixon, you wanted to add something?
No, that's fine. Thank you so much for,
Thank you so much for everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'll give opportunity to the rest to join us in the next webinar. I can see some people are raising hands right now. All the questions which have been asked, I'll ask the panelists perhaps to take time and answer in case you feel that your questions were not answered. Some of them actually mentioned they were not answered. So with those few remarks, thank you so much. I'll leave the webinar open for the next like 10 minutes. In case you want to engage and interact with the panelists, I'll leave it open for the next 10 minutes. And thank you so much, and God bless you. Ensure you join into the next webinar so that we can be able to upskill ourselves and grow. Thank you so much.